What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a morning talk show expecting a cordial chat, only to be ambushed by a host seemingly intent on tearing him down on live television? In just 44 seconds, a routine question about his latest film would ignite one of the most startling confrontations ever seen on British daytime TV, ending with Liam Neeson unclipping his microphone and walking off set while the cameras kept rolling. The morning began like any other on the Lorraine Kelly show. Studio lights blazing, the audience sipping their coffees. Lorraine herself poised behind her desk, ready to greet her next guest. Liam Neeson celebrated, steady, dignified, had agreed to appear to promote his new action thriller. What should have been a straightforward, good-natured interview would instead devolve into a masterclass in how not to treat a guest. He stepped onto the set with his usual, understated warmth, smiling at the audience as they applauded. He settled into the bright orange chair across from Lorraine, who greeted him with what appeared to be a friendly smile. Beside her sat two panelists, fashion correspondent Sarah and entertainment reporter Marcus Liam. "Welcome to the show," Lorraine began breezily, her Scottish lilt warm at least at first. "Now, I have to say, another action movie at your age. Some might say you're getting a bit long in the tooth for all this running around." The audience fell silent. A strange opening, needlessly sharp. But Liam, ever composed, smiled politely. "Well, I think age is just a number," he replied. "I stay fit, I train hard, and I love what I do." Lorraine leaned back, shooting a knowing glance at Sarah. Double quotes, yes. "But surely there comes a time when you hang up the action hero boots and let the younger generation take over. I mean, you've been doing the same thing for, what, 15 years? Before Liam could answer, Sarah jumped in. "I think what Lorraine means is that your films lately have felt similar, same type of character, same type of plot. Don't you want to challenge yourself with something different?" A flicker passed through Liam's eyes, small but unmistakable. "Actually, if you'd seen the new film, you'd know it's quite different. The character is dealing with grief, loss, and trying to reconnect with his estranged daughter. Yes, there's action, but the emotional core is what drew me to it." Marcus leaned forward, genuinely intrigued. "That sounds compelling, Liam. Can you talk more about that emotional journey?" But Lorraine cut across him sharply. "Oh, come on, Marcus. We all know how these films work. Big explosions, some fighting, a few dramatic looks, that's it. Let's not pretend these are Oscar-worthy performances." The audience shifted, restless. What was happening? Liam straightened, his jaw tightening. "With respect, Lorraine, I take every role seriously. I work with the director, I develop the character, and I give it everything I have. Action doesn't mean lacking depth." Lorraine waved a dismissive hand. Sure. But let's be honest, you're not exactly known for your range anymore, are you? When was the last time you surprised anyone? When was the last time you weren't just playing the tough guy with a certain, particular set of skills? Sarah snorted at her own joke. Even Marcus forced a smile. Liam didn't. "I've done plenty of dramatic roles," he said evenly. "Historical dramas, romances, independent films. I'm proud of my body of work." "Body of work," Lorraine repeated, making air quotes. "That's a generous way to describe churning out the same film over and over. Don't you ever worry you're just taking the money and running? That you're not contributing anything meaningful to cinema anymore?" The audience gasped. A line had been crossed cleanly and unmistakably. Liam's face remained calm, but his voice darkened with steel. "That's a very unfair assessment. I choose projects that speak to me, that I believe audiences will connect with, and that challenge me as an actor." "Commercially successful?" Lorraine shot back. "You mean formulaic and predictable? Your fans deserve better than these cookie-cutter movies. Don't you think you owe them something more substantial?" Marcus tried to intervene. "Lorraine, that's a bit harsh. Liam's had an extraordinary career. He's given us some truly memorable performances over the years." But Lorraine turned on him with irritation. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, Marcus." "Someone needs to ask the tough questions," Lorraine insisted, her tone sharpening, "instead of just fawning over him because he's famous." Liam's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Lorraine, if you wanted to ask tough questions about my work, that would be one thing. But what you're doing isn't journalism. It feels like a personal attack. I came here to talk about my film, not to be insulted." "Insulted?" Lorraine laughed, a brittle, humorless sound. "Oh, please. If you can't handle honest criticism, maybe you shouldn't be in this business. I've interviewed hundreds of actors. Most of them can take it when someone points out the obvious." Sarah, recognizing the interview was slipping into dangerous territory, tried to interject. "Liam, why don't you tell us about working with your co-stars? I heard there was some really interesting chemistry between you and the lead actress." But Lorraine pounced before Liam could answer. "Yes, let's talk about that. She's what, 30 years younger than you? Isn't it a bit uncomfortable playing these romantic leads with such an age gap?" The audience murmured, the discomfort in the room thickening. The line of questioning wasn't just unprofessional, it was cruel. Liam took a slow breath, hands tightening on the arms of his chair. "The relationship in the film is not romantic. She plays my daughter. And I find your insinuation deeply offensive." "Actually," Lorraine said with a shrug, "I'm just asking the questions viewers want answered. People talk about the age gaps, the repetitive roles, the decline in quality. It's all fair game." "Fair game," Liam repeated, his voice quiet but unmistakably firm. "Is it fair game to invite someone onto your show under the pretense of a normal interview, only to spend the entire time belittling their work and making unfounded accusations? Is that entertainment now?" Marcus nodded. "He's got a point, Lorraine. This has gotten uncomfortable." Lorraine rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, for heaven's sake. Everyone's so sensitive these days. I'm doing my job. Asking questions. If Liam can't handle that, maybe he shouldn't be doing press tours." "Asking questions," Liam replied, his voice rising just a fraction, "is one thing. What you're doing is provoking. You want a reaction for ratings? You've shown no interest in the film, no respect for my craft, and no basic courtesy as a host." "My job is to be honest with my audience," Lorraine shot back, matching his intensity. "And honestly, I think your best days are behind you. I think you're coasting on past glory. These films you're making now, they're lazy. They're uninspired. They're beneath someone of your supposed talent." The studio went deathly still. Even Sarah looked stunned, she too. Recognizing the line Lorraine had just crossed, Marcus shook his head. Slowly, in disbelief, Liam stood. The shift in the room was palpable. His presence, tall, steady, quietly formidable, seemed to dwarf the set. He looked down at Lorraine with a mixture of disappointment and restrained anger. "You know what, Lorraine? I've been in this industry for over 40 years. I've worked with some of the greatest directors and actors alive. I've had triumphs and tragedies, successes and failures. But through all of it, I've tried to treat people with dignity." "Oh, here we go," Lorraine muttered under her breath. But Liam didn't stop. Real professionalism isn't about tearing others down. It's not about manufacturing conflict for entertainment. It's about doing your job with integrity and allowing others to do the same. He reached up and began removing his microphone. "I came here in good faith. Instead, I've been subjected to what can only be described as a character assassination." Lorraine shot to her feet, her face flushed with anger. "So what? You're just going to walk off?" Very professional, Liam. Very mature. More professional, he replied calmly, than staying here and engaging with someone who has no intention of having a respectful conversation. A floor manager hurried over. Liam handed them his microphone with quiet finality. "This is ridiculous," Lorraine snapped. She turned desperately to her panelists. "Marcus, Sarah, are you seeing this? He can't just leave in the middle of an interview." Marcus stood as well. "Actually, Lorraine, he can. And frankly, after the way this has gone, I don't blame him. This was supposed to be a talk show, not an interrogation." Sarah didn't stand, but her voice trembled slightly. I think maybe we pushed too hard." "Pushed too hard." Lorraine's voice cracked with disbelief. "I was doing my job, asking the hard questions. That's what makes good television." Liam paused at the edge of the set and turned back. The cameras were still rolling. Good television doesn't require humiliating your guests. "Lorraine," he said quietly, "good television comes from actual conversation, mutual respect, listening. Maybe that's something you should think about." "Don't you dare lecture me," Lorraine snarled, her accent thickening with fury. "I've been doing this for years. I built this audience by being real, by saying what I think. I don't coddle celebrities who think they're above criticism." "There's a difference between criticism and cruelty," Liam replied. "And today, you crossed that line." A single pair of hands began to clap, then another, then more. Within seconds, the studio erupted into applause, loud, sustained, unmistakably directed at the man walking off the set, not the host left standing in his wake. Liam didn't bow. He didn't smile. He simply walked away with the quiet dignity Lorraine had spent the entire interview trying to strip from him, and she had failed. Lorraine looked around, stunned as the applause grew louder. "You're clapping for him?" she shouted, disbelief cracking through her voice. "He's the one walking off. He's the one being unprofessional." But the applause didn't stop. If anything, it intensified. Marcus began clapping as well, slowly, deliberately, making it clear where he stood. A few crew members nodded in agreement. Sarah sat frozen, her eyes downcast, the shame settling in as she realized just how far they'd pushed things. "This is unbelievable," Lorraine muttered, her voice trembling now. "I invite him here. I give him a platform, and this is how he repays me. By walking off and turning my own audience against me." Liam's expression softened just slightly. "You didn't give me a platform, Lorraine," he said quietly. "You invited me into what felt like an ambush. And as for the audience, they're perfectly capable of deciding for themselves what they've just witnessed." A woman in the front row stood. "You treated him terribly," she called out. Several others murmured their agreement. Lorraine whipped around to face them. "Oh, so now you're all experts on how to conduct an interview. You come here expecting light, fluffy conversations where nothing challenging ever gets said." "We expect respect," another audience member shot back. Marcus stepped closer to Lorraine, voice low but firm. "Lorraine, need to take a moment. This has gotten out of hand." "Out of hand," she snapped, spinning on him now. "You're supposed to be supporting me, Marcus. We're a team. We're a team when the work is good," he replied. "This wasn't good. It was uncomfortable to watch, and I think you know that." Liam remained near the edge of the set, silent, letting the unraveling speak for itself. The studio manager approached him carefully. "Mr. Neeson, I'm so sorry about this. This isn't how we operate." "I understand," Liam said kindly. "I don't blame the staff or the crew. You're all just doing your jobs." Lorraine heard that and let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, how generous of you, Ubs, of all of solving everyone except me. Making yourself look like the bigger person." "I'm not trying to look like anything," Liam replied, turning back to her. I'm just trying to maintain some dignity in a situation that lost its dignity very quickly. Dignity. Lorraine spat the word. You Hollywood types are all the same, coasting on charm and name recognition. Well, not on my show. On my show, I hold people accountable. Accountable for what, exactly? Liam's tone was calm, disarming. For making films audiences enjoy, for having a long career, for being older than you think I should be. What exactly is my crime here, Lorraine? The question settled over the room like a curtain falling. Lorraine opened her mouth, and nothing came out. She looked around and seemed to see the truth for the first time. The audience was against her. Her panelists were withdrawing, and the guest she'd tried to humiliate was standing unshaken, dignified. You know what? Kuhn continued, his voice softer. I actually feel sorry for you. You've built a successful show. You've done good work. But somewhere along the way, you forgot that the people you interview are human beings, not just content for you to chew up and spit out. Sarah stood suddenly, her voice unsteady. Liam, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. Shouldn't have piled on. That wasn't fair. Liam nodded graciously. I appreciate that, Sarah. Lorraine stared at her as though betrayed. Are you serious? You're apologizing to him? Yes, Sarah said firmly. Because what we did was wrong. We ambushed him. We were cruel. And for what? Ratings? Drama. That's not the kind of television I want to be part of. Then maybe you should leave too, Lorraine snapped. The audience gasped. Marcus immediately stepped between them. Lorraine, stop. Just stop. You need to see what's happening. You let your ego override your professionalism. My ego. Lorraine shouted, her voice nearly breaking. Oh, you're talking to me about ego? Look at him. She jabbed a finger toward Liam. He thinks he's too good to answer honest questions. He's walking off because someone dared to challenge him. An older man in the audience rose, his voice deep and steady. I've watched your show for 10 years, Lorraine. I've defended you when people said you were crossing lines. But what I saw today wasn't challenging. It was mean-spirited. You weren't interviewing him. You were attacking him. And for no good reason. The room fell silent again, this time heavier, colder. Final Dot and Lorraine, for once, had no comeback. Other audience members chimed in, their voices rising with a kind of collective clarity. A younger woman stood and called out, he's been nothing but polite and professional. And you've been rude from the second he sat down. Lorraine's face flushed a deep, furious red. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. I don't have to stand here and take this, she snapped. This is my show. My show. Then maybe you should think about what kind of show you want it to be. Liam replied softly. A show that treats people with respect, or a show that tears them down for entertainment. The choice is yours. He turned toward the exit. Applause swelled again, louder, fuller, undeniable. Some audience members rose to their feet. Crew members exchanged uncertain looks, some of them appearing moments away from joining in the applause themselves. Fine. Go. Lorraine barked after him. Walk off. Run away. That's what you actors do when things get tough. You disappear into your trailers or your mansions and let everyone else clean up the mess. Liam paused at the door, his hand on the frame, but he didn't turn back. His voice carried cleanly across the studio. The only consequence here, Lorraine, is that you'll have to look at yourself and decide whether this is really the person you want to be. Good luck with that. And then he was gone. The door swung shut behind him with a soft thud that echoed louder than any slam. Silence, heavy, suffocating. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the unraveling. Lorraine stood center stage, isolated under the bright, unforgiving lights as the audience stared back with open disappointment. Marcus removed his microphone with a quiet finality. I think I'm done for today as well, Lorraine. I need some air." He left without another word. Sarah followed, keeping her eyes down. "I'll be in my dressing room if anyone needs me." Lorraine watched them go, her expression flickering between outrage, disbelief, and something else, something unfamiliar and uncomfortable. She turned toward the audience, just in time to see them gathering their belongings. "Where are you all going?" she asked, her voice cracking. "The show isn't over. We still have more guests," but people were already filing out. A middle-aged woman paused at the aisle. "I came excited to be part of your audience today, Lorraine. I've watched you for years. But I won't be watching anymore. What you did today was wrong and you don't seem to understand that." The studio manager approached carefully, earpiece pressed to his ear. "Lorraine, control says we need to cut to commercial. We need to regroup and figure out how to proceed." "Proceed?" Lorraine let out a hollow laugh. "How do we proceed from this? My guest walked off. My panelists walked off. My audience is walking off. What exactly is left to proceed with?" He had no answer. None of them did. She looked around at the emptying seats, the crew avoiding her gaze. The garish studio colors that suddenly felt cheap and mocking. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "I was just doing my job. I was just asking questions." But even as she said it, something inside her shifted. She knew that wasn't true. She'd hunted for conflict. She'd gone in sharp, looking for a fight. She'd ignored the discomfort on her panel, brushed off the audience's reactions, and treated a respected guest like a prop in her own spectacle. And now, alone in a half-empty studio, the truth pressed in on her. The floor manager approached with a bottle of water. "Are you all right, Lorraine?" She took it without drinking. "Do I look all right?" He didn't answer. How could he? Behind them, the director's voice crackled over the speakers. "We're cutting to an early commercial. Then straight to the pre-recorded cooking segment. Lorraine, we need you to record a brief bridge to explain the schedule change." "A bridge?" she repeated dully. "Right? What do I say?" A pause. "Just. Due to unforeseen circumstances, keep it brief, professional, professional." The words stung sharper than any insult. Had she been professional? As she replayed the interview in her mind, the tone she used, the cheap shots at his age, the insinuations about his career, she saw it clearly. She hadn't been a tough interviewer. She'd been cruel, not incisive. Not journalistic cruel, the makeup artist approached. "Do you need a touch-up?" Lorraine looked at her reflection-smudged makeup, strained expression. Eyes still blazing with adrenaline and something like regret. "No," she whispered. "People should see me exactly as I am." The crew set up the shot. The atmosphere was tense, awkward, almost a funeral, as she waited for the countdown. Liam's final words echoed through her mind. "You'll have to look at yourself and decide whether this is really the person you want to be." Was this who she'd become? Someone who bullied guests for ratings, who valued spectacle over substance, who mistook meanness for honesty. The director counted down 5, 4, 3. Lorraine inhaled and looked into the camera. The red light blinked on. She understood with absolute clarity that no carefully worded bridge could undo what millions had just witnessed. No spin, no charm, no forced professionalism could revise the truth. The world had seen the real version of her today, and the truth was simple. Liam Neeson hadn't kicked himself off the show. She'd driven him off with her behavior, her attitude, her belief that cruelty made for compelling television. He had simply refused to participate in his own public humiliation, and in doing so, he'd held up a mirror that reflected something she wasn't proud to.